Just a short drive from Croatia's bustling capital, hidden deep within an ancient oak forest, lies a true natural paradise, Crna Mlaka. Here, during migration season, thousands of birds gather to feed, rest, and nest, turning the sky into a living painting. This wetland teems with life, not only birds, but countless other animals that call this place home. On this vibrant natural stage, life bursts at every turn, from the fierce battles for territory and mates to the endless struggle for survival and nourishment. But Crna Mlaka is not untouched wilderness. It's a fish pond, carefully managed by humans. And yet, in this rare corner of the world, people and nature live in perfect harmony. In the crisp morning air, fishermen pull their nets through the shallow waters. The pond has been drained, leaving the fish with nowhere to escape. The water churns as they thrash, trapped in the shrinking pool. Just a few meters away, a spectacle unfolds. Hundreds of herons and egrets stand in perfect stillness, waiting, watching. Then, with swift precision, they dive in, feasting on the fish left behind. It's a rare sight in today's world, where nature so often retreats from human activity. But here, at Crna Mlaka, the two exist side by side in an ancient rhythm of survival. For just a few days, the birds find their meals served as if in a restaurant. Some have spent the winter here or nearby, patiently waiting for spring's arrival. They stand motionless in the shallow water. Fish is so plentiful, they hardly need to move. Only now and then, a sudden dash breaks the stillness as they lunge for their prey. Several species of herons and egrets feed side by side in perfect harmony. The little egret is a restless hunter, swift, precise, and always on the move. Every step is calculated, every strike lightning fast. Daring black-headed gulls join the feast, snatching whatever they can in the frenzy. Opportunistic raptors, eyes sharp and talons ready, silently watch the herons, waiting for the perfect moment to snatch a fish. But not every meal comes easy. The largest fish pose a real challenge. There's even time for a bit of feather maintenance. Keeping their plumage in prime condition is crucial for strong, effortless flight. March has only just begun, and nature is slowly waking up. Willows bloom, their soft catkins swaying, while other trees keep their leaves tightly wrapped in buds. Cold nights and misty mornings still hold back the full arrival of spring. Reeds and cattails remain dormant, yet they are far from lifeless. A tiny penduline tip flits between cattails, plucking seeds. With careful precision, it gathers fibers for its delicate nest. A hidden insect or spider, a welcome feast along the way. For the common stonechat, reeds serve as the perfect scouting ground. Nesting season is just around the corner. The white stork has an even better vantage point. It has just arrived from the south, but won't stay long. Soon, it will move on to a village nearby. But life is even livelier on the water. one of the lakes where the water has not yet been drained. Coots tirelessly graze on aquatic plants. The shallow fish pond allows vegetation to flourish, offering them an abundant feast. Yet, their meal is low in calories, so they must eat frequently. Other pond dwellers are just as agile, but they dive more often. The little grebe hunts small fish and insects, skillfully vanishing beneath the surface, but it won't turn down an easy snack floating above. Its larger cousin, the great crested grebe, is an expert hunter too, though it relies solely on fish. Several pairs of grebes call this pond home, living harmoniously alongside other species. Common pochards bask in the calm, while mallards rest nonchalantly in the sun. Near the bank, a group of ferruginous ducks dive, foraging for plants and small creatures on the bottom. Flies are not their usual meal, but catching them is good practice. At Cernamlaca, life is good for the ducks. Yet herons, ducks, and coots are just a small part of its incredible bird life. Scientists have recorded 206 bird species here, nearly half of all found in Croatia. That's why Cernamlaca is a protected ornithological reserve. This abundance thrives on rich wetland habitats and plentiful food, but perhaps, even more crucially, there are no deadly gunshots. Each year, millions of migratory birds from Central Europe cross the Balkan Peninsula, journeying toward their wintering grounds in southeastern Europe and Africa. This demanding voyage depends on safe stopover sites, places where weary travelers can rest and refuel before continuing their passage. Exhausted birds seek refuge in wetlands, only to find them turned into lethal traps. More than 2 million are shot each year, and the relentless disturbance of gunfire shatters the peace of resting flocks, sometimes with fatal consequences. This makes the Cernamlaca fish ponds a vital sanctuary along this perilous route, holding immense ecological importance. Something is stirring in the lives of the grebes. Flooded with hormones, they dart across the water, chasing one another. But not all are caught in the frenzy. Some move with grace. A male and female performing a delicate dance on the water's surface. They are strengthening their bond before the time comes to nest and raise their young. Even the usually peaceful coots are caught in the heat of the moment. Like a kickboxing match, males clash, battling for mates and territory. And swans, the very symbol of grace and serenity, are not immune to the tensions. Now, aggression takes hold as males fight to establish their dominance. But soon, tempers will settle, and preparations for this year's brood will begin. Swans, after all, are lifelong partners. Passion isn't reserved for the birds. From the shallow waters lined with cattails, a love song echoes. The fire-bellied toad sings, calling for a mate. Well hidden among the vegetation, it is hard to spot. With webbed feet, it moves effortlessly through the water. At the slightest sign of danger, it vanishes beneath the surface. With each breath, they reveal a secret. A striking yellow belly striped in black, a warning to predators and an invitation to potential mates. As the pond hums with life, it slowly fills with tiny eggs, new beginnings in the making. For green frogs, love is loud, competitive, and physically demanding. Males inflate 2 vocal sacs, one on each side, sending powerful calls across the water. Their deep croaks serve a double purpose, attracting potential mates while warning rivals to stay away. But not all males back down. Soon, the tension escalates into a full-blown battle. Kicks, wrestling, and other amphibian martial arts unfold in the shallows. A contest of strength where only the most dominant will win the right to mate. While frogs clash, an ominous figure moves through the water, effortlessly. A grass snake glides just beneath the surface. Yet, today, frogs have nothing to fear. The serpent is on a different mission. Perched on a bed of old cattails, a female waits patiently, releasing pheromones into the air. And soon, they come, hypnotized by her scent. A male slithers onto her back, his body quivering as he begins to inseminate her. Then another arrives, and another. Before long, the water churns with movement. A chaotic tangle of writhing snakes, locked in a breeding frenzy. Oblivious to the world around them, their focus is singular. Until suddenly, the female decides she has had enough. With a swift motion, she escapes, leaving the exhausted males behind. Even the usually sluggish European pond turtle is swept up in the energy of the season. Two males engage in a battle for dominance. Their armored shells may seem cumbersome, but underwater wrestling is no challenge for these determined rivals. With each shove and lunge, they fight for the right to mate. As the sun warms the water, another species joins the spectacle. The carp begin their own ritual, driven by an irresistible urge. Unconcerned by the world above, they thrash to the surface, where males pursue females with relentless determination. In this moment, nothing else matters. Becoming a father is their sole mission. As the sun dips below the horizon, a familiar sound rises from the wetlands. The chorus of tree frogs begins. They are the smallest of frogs, yet their voices cut through the dusk louder than all the rest. At twilight, starlings return in sweeping waves from their daily foraging. They circle above in flocks, then settle down for the night, perching on tall oaks and rustling reeds. Soon, Kina Malacca comes alive with a wild and vibrant night concert. Thousands of fire-bellied toads, green frogs, and tree frogs join in, each one adding its own note to the rich, untamed symphony of the wetlands. Fueled by generous spring rains, the landscape bursts into green. Bright new shoots of reed spear upward through a blanket of last year's browns. The forest awakens in full. Majestic oaks stretch their limbs skyward, their crowns catching the light of the spring sun. In the lowlands, spring waters rise and flood the forest floor. Here, in the damp and fertile ground, water-loving plants begin to flourish. Among them blooms the beautiful snake's head fritillary, its checkered petals like delicate stained glass, one of the true floral treasures of the wetland. But it's not only flowers that bring colour to the season. Shallow puddles and still waters draw in the moor frog, ready for his short-lived courtship display. For just a few days each year, the males turn a brilliant shade of sky blue. With shimmering colour and rhythmic calls, they do their best to impress the watching females, a vivid spectacle of nature born from water and song. Soon, the mighty oaks stretch out their broad leaves, casting deep shadows across the forest floor. The brief reign of early spring flowers fades as sunlight struggles to reach the ground. It may seem like the middle of nowhere, Yet this wetland jewel lies just 30 kilometers from Zagreb, the capital of Croatia. A quiet forest road splits off from the highway, winding between trees and ponds. Most drivers speed past, unaware of the wild richness hidden just beyond the tree line. Crna Mlaka is a carefully designed network of wetlands, 18 large ponds, and many more smaller ones scattered across the reserve. The biggest covers 160 hectares, a wide and shallow lake wrapped in reeds. A system of canals ensures the ponds stay healthy and full of life. Water flows gently from the nearby Okic mountain, bringing fresh oxygen and nutrients. Small dams and gates control the rhythm of the water. They allow the caretaker to empty or refill ponds, depending on the season and the fish. Though it feels untouched, Crna Mlaka is private land, owned and managed by Mr. Prepolec, who oversees both the fish farm and the protected nature reserve. It's a demanding task, spread across a vast landscape. Mr. Prepolec is the latest in a long line of keepers. The fish pond was originally built in 1905 by Austrian landowner Cornelius Zwilling. Old records still tell stories from that time. Everything was done by hand. Mighty oak forests were cleared, tree by tree by tree. Earth was moved with simple tools as embankments rose and the first fish ponds began to take shape. Canals were dug to bring in fresh water, turning this once wild and wooded land into a carefully crafted wetland habitat. It was a monumental effort, guided not by machines, but by human will and vision. And deep in the forest, the crumbling remains of a once grand manor house still stand, surrounded by the overgrown park. Its walls are cracked, its windows empty, but its presence still lingers, watching over Crna Mlaka. Production in the fish ponds of Crna Mlaka is extensive, but that's exactly what makes them special. Here, nature still has space to breathe. Open water, muddy shallows, reed beds. There's room for wild things to thrive. But this delicate balance is now at risk. Crna Mlaka, like many fish ponds across Croatia, is in danger. Over the years, some have dwindled, others have vanished completely. An economic crisis, the transition from socialism, and shifting priorities, all of these have taken their toll. Without human care and maintenance, reeds and willows begin to take over. At first glance, it may seem like nature is reclaiming her ground, but the truth is more complicated. When open waters close in, most of the birds disappear. A landscape that once echoed with wing beats and wild calls falls silent. Crna Mlaka stands as one of the last strongholds, but how long can it hold? Mud remains in one of the temporarily drained ponds. For many, it may look like just sludge, but for wading birds, it's a buffet. These birds are perfectly built for such a habitat. Long legs help them move with ease through the soft, sinking ground. Their sharp, slender beaks are designed like nature's tweezers, ideal for picking out worms and insects hidden beneath the surface. This muddy paradise doesn't last long. It's fleeting, but it comes at the perfect moment during migration. Crna Mlaka becomes a crucial rest stop. Here, birds pause, refuel, and gather strength for the journey ahead. Even with muddy legs, they're graceful in the skies. The little ringed plover may not be the most energetic, but it's precise, carefully searching, peck by peck. The yellow wagtail, however, is a blur of motion. The most restless of all mud dwellers, it's never still. Always chasing, always moving. Drawn by the commotion, the black stork arrives. Taller and more powerful, it strides into deeper water, avoiding competition with the smaller guests. A bit farther off, a pair of black-winged stilts stands poised. Their slender bodies and impossibly long legs seem almost too delicate. But here, in the mud, they are perfectly at home, a masterclass in balance and elegance. All around, the reed beds tremble with sound. A loud, mechanical rattle echoes across the wetlands. It's the great reed warbler, a proud singer, a fierce defender. His nest is close, his voice even closer. Blending perfectly into the tall reeds, he's almost invisible, a shadow with a song. From above, the taller willows offer the best stage. A rival answers from the thickets. Smaller, but just as bold, the sedge warbler joins the performance with its chaotic, bubbling tune. Music and mealtime go hand in hand. It sings, then snatches an insect. From a young willow nearby, a strange sound rises, less like a bird, more like a frog in song. It's Savi's warbler, the master of mimicry. A shy specialist of the reeds, its call is part of the wetland's hidden language. In the shade of bushes, the night heron sleeps. By dusk, it becomes a silent hunter, waiting, watching, striking. Not far away, a pair of mute swans are busy with renovations. The male brings twigs and reeds, the female weaves them in. Soon, a new clutch of eggs warms beneath her feathers. One watches, one waits. Both protect the future. Below the surface, the European pond turtle glides with purpose. Slow on land, fast in water, a careful predator with armored grace. It loves to bask in the sun, just like the frogs it sometimes hunts. But it's always alert, ready to vanish with a splash. No danger from the muskrat, a bulky rodent munching on reeds. Peaceful, plant-loving, and part of the ecosystem's balance. However, it remains an unwelcome guest, as its burrows frequently cause the collapse of the earth dams in the fish ponds. As the day fades, bird songs quiet down, but now it's the insects' turn. Mosquitoes and midges fill the air, twirling in a shimmering cloud. It's more than a dance, it's courtship in flight. At Cuna Malacca, the rhythm of life never stops, not even when the sun sets. Spring harvest has come and gone. Now, a gentle calm settles over the fish ponds of Cuna Malacca. But here, life never truly rests. Workers continue their quiet routines, moving from pond to pond. They scatter corn by hand, just a sweet treat compared to the rich buffet of natural food beneath the surface. Wooden stakes rise from the water, marking the deeper channels where small boats can safely glide. The days stretch out warmer and brighter. The wetland begins to hum with new energy. Most of the season's young are already active. A mother mallard surveys her surroundings with practiced care. Then, one by one, her ducklings paddle out behind her. Breakfast is calling. They splash and play, full of curiosity. But they're never far from her watchful gaze. Not far away, the little grebe family is enjoying a morning feast too. Tiny, downy chicks bob on the water, eyes scanning eagerly. They wait for a parent to surface, beak full. They're learning quickly. Soon, they'll have to dive and hunt for themselves. In the reeds, a coot mother moves with purpose. She plucks and offers different plants to her chicks, showing them what's good to eat. In these wetlands, even the smallest meal can be a life lesson. And then, gracefully, the swan family arrives. The cygnets, still wrapped in soft grey fluff, look like little ghost boats drifting after their parent. They follow in a perfect line, clumsy but determined. These are their first lessons in foraging, nibbling aquatic plants, pecking at the surface. Their early efforts are awkward, but soon they'll glide and graze with elegance. Although the same prey for many, the green frogs themselves are incredibly voracious creatures. With mouths agape, they leap to catch insects in a single bound. Nearby, the still body of a dead brown bullhead rests. Too large to eat, it serves another purpose now, an excellent sunbathing throne. A female white-legged damselfly carefully deposits her eggs into the water. The male stays attached, guarding her closely, ensuring his paternity. Those eggs will hatch into aquatic larvae that live hidden at the bottom, sometimes for years, before emerging into the light. Just above the surface, river skaters begin their graceful performance. Using the tension of the water, they seem to walk on it, effortless and fluid. And in the wild energy of mating season, they don't just glide. They leap and twirl in a frenzy of movement. Water is growing scarce and warmer by the day, a perfect recipe for amphibian plants to thrive. This isn't just a wetland anymore, it's a floating botanical garden. A green-yellow quilt of fringed water lilies stretches across the surface. In deeper parts, water caltrop takes over, spreading like a leafy empire. The water itself is barely visible now. Still, this overgrown pond is far from empty. For birds, it's a paradise, whether they nibble plants or hunt meat. But for workers, the dense vegetation brings challenges. To feed the fish, the ponds must be mowed like meadows. Cutting through this aquatic jungle, in the heart of the lush green ponds, a road stretches through the landscape. Birds now flock to the remaining open waters. Ducks are the most numerous. Their ducklings trail behind, evidence of a fruitful season. Plenty of food, high survival, a good year. The weedy water is now a banquet table, set and ready. Even the ferruginous duck family looks strong and healthy. Their young have grown well. There is also ample time for personal hygiene, a quiet ritual that complements the peace of the moment. In the background, grey heron juveniles practice the art of fishing. Still clumsy, they fumble even with the smallest fish. But every missed strike is part of the learning. Balancing on tree branches, still a skill in progress. In the shallows, two species of white egrets hunt side by side. The little egret's quick and restless, and the great white patient as stone. Starlings splash joyfully in the shallows. Ever alert, always ready to take off in a flash. Then, tucked high in the trees, They preen and dry their feathers in safety. As afternoon softens into evening, swallows arrive. They come for a bath. Masters of flight, they skim the water surface with ease. Dipping, diving, dancing. Why not catch a few insects while you're at it? Even a predator can be startled by a panicked frog leaping from nowhere. The whole wetland becomes a theatre, and the show goes on until the very last light fades into twilight. June dawns are golden and fleeting. The short summer night barely cools the ponds. Just as the surface begins to release its morning mist, the sun rises, fierce and unrelenting. Its rays turn silver ripples into pools of molten gold. Birds welcome the warmth on their feathers, but soon that warmth will burn. For now, they bathe in sunshine. This is the season of plenty. The frenzied courtship of spring has passed. Now, the skies fill with another kind of spectacle. The traffic of hunters. Whiskered terns glide in, sleek and graceful. They're masters of the air. Turning, twisting, hovering mid-flight with ease. They're fishing now. Above the ponds, they circle in silence, eyes locked on the water. Then, suddenly, they dive. A sharp plunge, a splash. And sometimes, empty beaks. But failure is part of the hunt, and they try again. Sometimes, they pause mid-air, hovering to inspect the prey more closely before deciding whether to strike. After a round of fishing, the terns head to the far side of the pond. There, they settle onto their nests. Gently, carefully, sinking down onto their eggs. This year, 160 pairs have chosen Cerne Mlaka as their nursery. They've made a wise choice. The floating leaves of the water caltrop offer both building material and protection, a perfect fortress against intruders from land. The nest itself is a simple raft. Just a loose platform of aquatic plants, barely raised above the water. But for tern eggs, it's the softest, safest cradle. It must be tended constantly. The water shifts, the platform sinks, so the birds rebuild and reinforce. While one parent sits, warming the future, the other is already airborne, fishing once more. Along the fringes of the tern colony, new neighbours arrive. The grebes, they prefer the edge, slightly away from the bustle. Their nests, like the terns, are floating piles of wet plants, but here it's just a bit quieter, at least in theory. The grebes rarely leave their nests. When they do, trouble finds them. Terns, ever curious and bold, swoop in, not for eggs but for nesting material. Only when the grebes are sure the coast is clear, they return. No real harm done, just a few stolen twigs. Soon peace is restored. Days pass, and then tiny life cracks through eggshells. 2 chicks, usually. The chicks startle at every passing shadow, every wing beat. Yet their instincts are strong. Eyes barely open, fluff soft and trembling, but the crowded colony can be overwhelming. The moment they spot a parent, beaks shoot open in urgent hunger. Hunting ramps up immediately. One fish is no longer enough. These young mouths are demanding. The menu is broad. Small fish, damselflies, even the occasional frog. Frogs, however, are not the easiest catch. Their long limbs resist. They wriggle, but hunger is a powerful teacher. With some effort, the meal disappears, legs and all. As the chicks grow, the parents begin to leave them alone more often, heading off to hunt. The young ones stay hidden, camouflaged by their streaked feathers, blending perfectly into the nest. By noon, the sun is high and merciless. On the open water, there's no shade. Only the wide, outstretched wings of a parent can offer protection. A living umbrella, a gesture of pure instinct and care. Scorching summer has arrived. The sun beats down relentlessly, and the once refreshing waters of Cuna Malacca are now warm, almost hot. A perfect breeding ground for bacteria, these invisible organisms multiply fast, feeding on oxygen. And the fish, they struggle. One by one, they rise to the surface, gasping, mouths open, trying to breathe. August is unforgiving. The heat reaches its peak. Rain hasn't fallen for weeks. Water levels drop, exposing wide stretches of mud. What remains are shrinking pools, isolated oases for wading birds. Glossy ibises arrive, elegant and opportunistic. They join herons and storks in a brief feeding frenzy. But the feast is short-lived. Soon, even these last puddles will vanish. Not all birds find fortune in the dry spell. A young grebe, too weak to fly, is stranded in the sticky mud. It can only wait and hope. Hope for clouds, hope for rain, hope for water. Some ponds are now almost completely dry. For the European pond turtle, this is a crisis. Struggling through thick, dense mud, the turtle presses on, its journey stifled by the mud's grip. But survival demands more. It must find water, stored in the vital ponds where life thrives. At least the dry lake bed, with its cracked earth, is easier to navigate than the suffocating, sticky mud. Only the main ponds, where fish are protected, still hold some precious water. The others are barren. What's left is a cracked, sun-scorched lake bed, hard as stone, silent as dust. Eventually, weeds begin to crawl in from the edges. Nature always tries to reclaim. But in some places, even amphibious plants give up, defeated by the hardened crust. The wetlands, for now, are quiet, waiting for rain. September brings a long-awaited relief. The sun still shines, but mornings are crisp now, cooling the land and the ponds. The deep greens of summer begin to fade, gently surrendering to autumn's softer hues. The season of breeding is over. Across the ponds, swans drift like snowflakes. Dozens upon dozens, their white feathers catching the golden light. Over 100 cygnets now swim confidently, side by side with their parents. No longer awkward, almost grown, young grebes, still clad in their subadult feathers, mirror their parents with every graceful stroke. And the little grebes, already masters of the dive, vanishing below the surface in pursuit of prey. But something else is happening. The skies are stirring. Birds are on the move. The Great Migration has begun. Cuna Malacca becomes what it has always been, a vital station on the flyway. In the reeds, warblers feed with urgency. They snatch tiny insects from stalks and leaves, storing precious energy for the long journey ahead. But in their haste, some don't see the nearly invisible net stretched between the reeds. They flap, twist, caught. But this is not the work of poachers. These nets belong to scientists. Ornithologists quietly studying the migration that connects continents. Gently, with practiced hands, they remove each bird. No harm is done. The birds are taken to a temporary field station where they are measured and weighed with care. At the end, a small metal ring is placed on one leg. A simple tag, yet it carries a story. Wherever this bird may be found again, it will be known. It came from Surnum Laka. Swallows are among the first to leave. As dusk falls, they gather in the reeds for one final rest. Then, in great numbers, they rise into the sky, and many glide straight into the nets. Soon, they too will be ringed, recorded, and released. And then, just like that, they'll be gone. On another pond, a different rhythm unfolds. Workers are preparing for the main fishing season. It's a careful process. Large nets are stretched out to dry, silently waiting for the harvest to come. As the afternoon deepens, the workers retreat to their homes. Many of them live right here, small wooden houses nestled among the ponds. But even when the day's fishing tasks are done, the work doesn't stop. Sheep are released onto the dikes. They graze peacefully, keeping the embankments tidy, natural lawnmowers with gentle eyes. Their movement is slow, steady. Grass turns to silence under their hooves. Autumn is in full swing now. Nights are cold, still, and crystal clear. They pull every trace of heat from the land. By morning, the ponds, still warm from summer, breathe mist into the air. Thick fog curls over the surface like smoke. And under its cover come the thieves. Cormorants, unwelcome visitors with sleek black feathers and eyes sharp as spears. They slip into the ponds unnoticed. They dive deep. They chase with purpose. And they catch with ease. Their bellies fill quickly, too quickly for the fisherman's liking. Once full, they climb onto branches or dikes, spreading their wings wide. Feathers outstretched, drying in the still grey air. The sun has long risen elsewhere, but here at Surnum Laka, fog clings to the water. Sometimes it lingers until noon, shrouding the ponds in mystery, while life below the surface carries on. As the sun pierces through the last trails of fog, a new chapter begins. The sky comes alive. Flecks on the horizon grow into flocks. Ducks are arriving, wave after wave. Most are ferruginous ducks, their warm brown plumage glowing in the autumn light. These aren't locals. They come from the north, migrants from the wetlands of northern Europe. They may be late this year, but they've made it. With graceful landings, they touch down on the ponds. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. At times, Surnum Laka holds as many as 6,000 ferruginous ducks. Scattered like moving shadows across the water, that's nearly 1/3 of the entire European population. All in one small corner of Croatia, a staggering number for such a modest fish pond. It's no wonder Surnum Laka has earned a place on the Ramsar list, a network of wetlands deemed internationally important for the survival of species. Here, the ducks rest. They feed, they recover, and in doing so, they confirm what scientists and conservationists already know. Surnum Laka is one of the most vital stopovers in all of Central Europe, a lifeline on the great aerial highway of migration. The fishermen are preparing. Harvest season is near. Fish are being moved from one pond to another. And what's left behind becomes trapped in shrinking puddles. It doesn't go unnoticed for long. Above, the air pirates arrive. Black-headed gulls, loud and ravenous. The sky fills with white wings. Then, chaos. A feeding frenzy begins. The gulls dive and shriek, snatching helpless fish from the shallows. There are no manners here, no order, no waiting their turn. They land, they fight, they gulp, then take off again, only to touch down a few meters away and repeat the madness. In the chaos, some perish trampled underfoot. All the commotion draws in bigger guests. Herons arrive in gliding silence. Egrets follow, their bright plumage gleaming against the mud. They are the true aristocrats of the wetlands, calm, focused, precise. While gulls flail, the herons simply wait. Fish are everywhere, no need to rush. They step slowly, their long legs keeping them above the mud. Strike, swallow, step again. The one who hesitates loses their place. But here, there's enough for all. The feast isn't just about competition, it's a race against time. The fish won't last forever. Above it all, feathers fill the sky. Birds wheel and scream in every direction. Tensions flare, wings clash, voices rise. And then, as the sun climbs high, comes the siesta. In the stillness, a new shadow appears. The white-tailed eagle, the true ruler of the ponds. It circles slowly overhead, watching the scene below with sharp golden eyes. This powerful raptor nests in the dense forests surrounding Cernam Lucca, but it comes here to feed. It prefers fresh catch, but won't say no to carrion. A fish carcass is still a meal. Today, the eagle lands poorly. Fish is not within reach. Nearby, crows watch, smaller in size, but bold in numbers. They jeer, chase, harass. The eagle lifts again, off in search of a better perch. A wooden fishing pole may offer the view it needs. Elsewhere, a marsh harrier finds treasure among the leftovers. Dry fish, half buried in mud. Enough for a meal. In this world of wings and water, everyone plays their part in the great harvest. The leaves are turning. Yellows, golds, and rusts now sweep through the forest. Autumn has arrived, paintbrush in hand, and with it come the geese. Not as numerous as ducks, but each year, a few hundred make Cunham Lucca their resting place. They spend the night cloaked in fog. Silent silhouettes drifting on the water when the sun finally pierces the mist. The geese slowly stir, but they don't rise just yet. They enjoy a moment longer in their watery beds. Soaking in the gentle warmth, despite their size and bold honking calls, geese are careful. Their safety lies in the flock, many eyes, always watching. Nearby, a bigger transformation begins. Water is being released from the largest pond at Cunham Lucca, an astonishing 400 hectares. It is the last to be emptied, a dramatic conclusion to a remarkable journey. As the water retreats, fish become exposed, and the wetlands erupt in activity. Thousands of birds gather. Coots, ducks, herons, even the geese themselves, all drawn to the same feast. Fish is plentiful, and so is competition. Soon, the pond becomes a vast plain of thick, glistening mud. Only ancient tree stumps disturb the smooth surface, dark roots of a forgotten forest. They are more than 100 years old, remnants of the original woodland that once stood here. Back then, there were no machines to remove them, so they stayed. Now, nature has claimed them. Birds perch on them like statues, using them as pedestals above the chaos, quiet lookouts in a muddy sea of motion. Here, past and present meet. Forests turn to fish ponds turn to feasting grounds, and the rhythms of migration continue. When the cold winds of November sweep through the trees, they strip away the last golden leaves. And that's the sign that the most important event of the year is about to begin: the harvest. At Cernamlukka, it starts before dawn. In the biting morning chill, workers wade into the water in thick rubber boots, their breath fogging the air. The nets are drawn tight. The cold weather is essential. It drives the fish into the deepest parts of the pond, where the fishermen are already waiting. This is no easy task. It's hard, physical work. It demands many hands, steady coordination, and perfect timing. The nets must be secured with precision. Any slip and the fish could escape. As the circle tightens, the water begins to churn. Thousands of fish, trapped together, boil the surface into a silvery storm. Now, the heavy machinery takes over. A large excavator swings its metal arm into the catch, scooping up the writhing mass and releasing it into the fish elevator. There, the sorting begins. Experienced hands quickly separate the catch. Smaller fish are set aside, destined for reproduction. The bigger ones, mostly carp, fat, strong and ready for market. Cernamlukka produces over 300 tons of top-quality fish every year, and most of it heads to European Union countries, where the demand is high and the reputation well earned. The harvest may be intense, but it is the reward for months of work, a cycle repeated for generations. As nature quiets down, the ponds give back their treasure. Across the world, natural wetlands are vanishing, and that's why places like Cernamlukka matter more than ever. These fish ponds are not just artificial landscapes. They are living, breathing ecosystems. Substitutes, yes, but in many ways they are even richer than the originals. Here, a perfect balance exists. Natural food blends with human care. Biodiversity thrives thanks to both tradition and intention. Cernamlukka is more than a fish farm. It is a model of sustainability, a rare example where people and nature thrive side by side. Push production too far or abandon it completely, and the delicate web begins to unravel. Birds would vanish. The ferruginous duck would disappear, a symbol of harmony lost. But as long as man works with nature, not against it, places like this will endure. Cernamlukka stands as a reminder that with respect, patience and knowledge, we can preserve beauty and protect life for generations to come.